Assalamu alaikum, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Our lecture today will be about the development of the respiratory system. We're going to talk about it so briefly. The development of the respiratory system in the fetus begins at about 4 weeks. It continues into childhood and does not carry out its physiologic function of gas exchange until after birth. The respiratory tract is divided into upper part, consists of nose, nasal cavities, and the pharynx. The lower respiratory tract, which consists of larynx, trachea, bronchi, and lungs. Again here, the respiratory system, the upper part, nose, pharynx, lower part, larynx, trachea, bronchi, and lungs. Pharynx and larynx are the structures that are present in the neck region of the vertebrates. The pharynx is a fibromuscular tube that extends from the base of the skull to the oesophagus. The larynx is an apparatus made of cartilages, muscles, mucous membrane, and ligaments that guards the entrance to the lower respiratory passages, which are the bronchi, trachea, and lungs. It also houses the vocal cords. The pharynx, as a part of the throat, is located behind the mouth and nasal cavity and above the oesophagus and larynx. It's a part of the digestive system and conducting zone of the respiratory system. It filters, warms, and moistens air and conducts it to the lungs. In a human, the pharynx is divided into nasopharynx, oropharynx, and the laryngopharynx. Now the larynx. The internal lining of the larynx originates from the endoderm, but the cartilages and muscles arise from the mesenchyme of the fourth and sixth pharyngeal arches. As a result of rapid proliferation of these mesenchymes, the laryngeal orifice changes its shape from the slit-like structure into the T-shape. At the beginning, it appears like a slit, then it changed to a T-shape, due, as I mentioned, to the proliferation of the mesenchymal tissue. When the mesenchyme of these two arches transforms into thyroid, cricoid, and arytenoid cartilages, the characteristic adult shape of the laryngeal orifice can be recognized. At about the time that cartilages are formed, the laryngeal epithelium also proliferates rapidly, resulting in a temporary occlusion of the lumen of the larynx. Subsequently, vacuolization and recanalization produce a pair of lateral recesses, which are the laryngeal ventricles. These recesses are bounded by folds of tissues, which differentiate into folds and true vocal cords. These muscles of the larynx derived from the mesenchyme of the fourth and sixth pharyngeal arches. All the laryngeal muscles are innervated by the branches of the vagus nerve. These branches are the superior laryngeal nerve and recurrent laryngeal nerve. Now, the respiratory diverticulum, which is a structure that arises at approximately 4 weeks of the embryonic life, appears as outgrowth from the ventral wall of the foregut. This is the foregut, this is the ventral part where the respiratory diverticulum arises. This diverticulum will expand later on, and then two tracheo-esophageal ridges appears here. They will fuse, forming tracheoesophageal septum, so separating the oesophagus from the primordium of the respiratory tract. The respiratory primordium maintains its communication with the pharynx through the laryngeal orifice here. During the separation of the lung buds from the foregut, they form trachea and two lateral outpocketings. These are the bronchial buds, which are the right one divides into three branches, the left one 2 branches. They continue to branch for secondary and tertiary. Maturation of the lungs is divided into 4 phases. First one is the seed glandular period, where the lung buds undergo branching, which appear directly proportional to the amount of mesenchymal tissue present. The canalicular period, where the respiratory bronchioles and alveolar ducts with some terminal sacs start to appear, and vascularization increases, such as that gas exchange is possible by the end of this stage. The material, which is named surfactant, will be produced at this stage. Now, terminal sac period, the overall number of terminal sacs and degree of vascularization increases. There will be 2 types of cells recognized at this period, which are type 1 and type 2 cells. Type 2 cells owns lamellar bodies, which are the site of storage of the surfactant material. The alveolar period, which is the last one, where the functioning alveolus is lined with type 1 cells, which are in intimate contact with the pulmonary capillaries, and type 2 cells, which are responsible for the production of the surfactant. Up to 7th prenatal month, the bronchioles divide continuously into more and more smaller canals. This occurs at the canalicular phase, as I mentioned before. The vascular supply increases steadily. Respiration becomes possible when some of the cells of the cuboidal respiratory bronchioles, these are the cuboidal cells, they change into thin flat cells, as you can see here. These are the cuboidal changing into flat cells. They are intimately in contact with numerous blood and lymphatic vessels. Surrounding spaces, these spaces are named the terminal sacs or primitive alveoli. During the 7th month, sufficient numbers of capillaries are present to guarantee adequate gas exchange. During the last 2 months of prenatal life and for several years thereafter, the number of terminal sacs increases steadily. In addition, cell lining these are the terminal sacs and these are the lining cells. These are type 1 alveolar epithelial cells. They become thinner, so the surrounding capillaries, they are protruded into the alveolar sac. This intimate contact between the epithelium and the endothelial cells makes up the blood-air barrier. In addition to endothelial cells and the flat alveolar cells, another cell type develops at the end of the 6th month. Type 2 alveolar epithelial cells that are responsible for surfactant production, since they own lamellar bodies. In the absence of the surfactant, the lung can maintain alveoli in an open state for only very short time. So premature infants born at the beginning of this stage can survive, but will likely need ventilation assistance and administration of exogenous surfactant. Thank you for your listening.